morning, Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections at My Kids 1031. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host for this morning. Since Houston is part of the I-10 corridor, and we are too, we do have a lot of sex trafficking going on in our area. And those of you who said, oops, I didn't know, you let me know a whole lot, and that again is another thing that we're allowing to happen. We're allowing it to happen because, first of all, we haven't taken the time to find out what it looks like. We haven't taken the time to change our lingo and our view on our children. And my guest right here, he doesn't know. I'm hitting him with this one question. He's not ready yet, but it's okay. And his mom is here, and I don't know if she's ready either, but I'm going to test their knowledge on sex trafficking. Because if you're in education, you should be an expert on sex trafficking. And I'm going to say it again. If you are an educator, you should be an expert in all aspects of sex trafficking. Because if you're not a good educator. Because you could have a child in your class that's being sex trafficked on the weekend and at night. And if you don't know, you're not good at what you do. And I'm going to say, yes, you're right. Yeah, I said that. So anybody who's a teacher that's listening to me right now, I said it. And remember, teachers from the custodian all the way up. Custodians are teachers, regardless of what you might think. They are teachers because they teach your children. They talk to your kids. In fact, they know more about your kids sometimes than you do. So we're going to talk about it and bring it up. But today we're going to talk about education very, 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 very deeply. It's a concern of mine. It's a concern of everybody's. And we have different styles of education. We have public schools. We have private schools. We have two types of charter schools. You have a public charter school and then a charter school that's not public. That sounds weird, but it's true. The difference in all of them is the acceptance of the children that they accept. A private school, you need to know, can accept who they feel like it. They actually can. They can say, I'm not taking this kid, I'm not taking that one, I'm not taking this one. And they can legally do that because the law says that they can. If you have a special needs child, a private school, and some charter schools don't have to take you. And if they do take you, your IEP goals are worthless. If you have a special needs child, they don't have to accept the IEP goals because they're listed, they're private. So they don't have to accept them. Then you do have some charter schools that are public charter schools. And you have some private schools that are public private schools where they do accept. So when you think about all of these groups, and public school naturally got to take everybody. But when you think about these and when you hear about them, you need to ask those second questions. First of all, is it needed? Why are you doing it? What's the curriculum? Don't just say, oh yeah, my kid is going there. Wait, hold up. You might need to think about it a little more. So this morning, we're going to talk to, excuse me, and I forgot his name again. He says Billy.
Billy, yes, ma'am.
I got it right. How you doing this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so we're talking about education.
Yes, ma'am.
So I got this question for you.
Okay.
This. Remember, I have the sex trafficking question for you.
Okay.
Because you're gonna have a school.
Yes, ma'am.
With people who know more than just the curriculum.
Okay.
They gotta know the community also.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm gonna ask you, and where do you live?
I'm from Killeen, Texas. Right now, I live in San Antonio, Texas.
Ooh, good. I'm gonna hit you with San Antonio there.
Okay.
Because I know y'all's numbers. In your San Antonio area, what kids are most likely trafficked and what are they trafficked for?
Which kids are more likely trafficked?
And what are they trafficked more for?
Which kids? Do you mean demographic or do you mean
race?
I would have to say Hispanic.
Why? What are they trafficked for, though?
Drugs.
No.
Well, I guess.
Hispanic children are trafficked for labor trafficking.
So I got the
it's more labor. It's labor trafficking.
Okay.
Hispanics and Asians are taken for more labor trafficking than they are sex trafficked. San Antonio, you all have it bad in all aspects. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know why. Well, yeah, you're still part of the I-10 corridor, but in San Antonio, you have more. Let's say your Hispanics and your Asians are labor trafficked. You have your younger girls, Hispanic, from 12 to 10, from 9 to 12 are sex trafficked. But yeah, in San Antonio, y'all really kind of out of control.
You got some issues.
As far as the sex trafficking issue is.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I would like when you open your school to make sure your staff knows about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's something that we see first. And I'm going to ask you one more question about it, then we get into your school.
Okay.
How would if I look at a child every day, how would I know that child is trafficked?
Usually has to do with a lot of silent cues, I would believe. So things like not being able to be focused in class. A lot of times they'll not be able to interact with other kids. They're not interacting with adults because they're having a hard time trusting adults necessarily. And then when they do start to trust one of the adults, they may start talking to them about some home situations. And then I think if you start to see these cues in class, that has to do with working in with admin and making sure you start to speak with parents, see how the home life's going. But it really, the main thing has to do with silent cues. So it's small things that you have to notice. So that's why it's really important to build relationships with all your students. What
would the visual sign be? Without even talking to the kid, what visual thing would you see on that child to make you ask another question?
A lot of times, if I'm teaching or I'm lecturing, the student's not looking at me, not paying attention. If I'm looking at the student trying to have eye contact and have a conversation, they're not looking at me, not able to make eye contact. Obviously, they're nervous. So that shows that they're not able to trust an adult. And so all this ties into, continuing on, asking questions, building a relationship, all the kind of things like that.
Okay, so I'm going to take you to another direction that child walking down the hall,
yeah.
Right? Hi to you. You say hi back. But there's something you see on them that would make you ask another question. What would it be?
Something I see
Something on them? You see on their body would make you ask another question. Shoulder and neck area.
Their neck area.
Shoulder, yeah, the shoulder area and the neck area, yeah.
Would it have to be something along the lines of bruising?
No.
No, I don't know exactly what you're trying to say.
Easy. When a child is taken, trafficked, they have a tattoo.
Oh.
Because each buyer has a tattoo that he uses. So it could be a barcode that you see on the child. It could be a certain tattoo, but the tattoo is in a visual area because it has to be so someone will know who owns you. Which really sounds horrible, but so you would see a tattoo on their neck and shoulder area. Okay. And that tattoo would let you know to ask a question.
Yeah, definitely.
You that yes, mom is sitting here like, what? But you would.
Yeah, as being in this school, you can't really have tattoos
yes, ma'am.
underage without a parent consent. So I guess you're saying they're pretty much branded.
Yeah. Yeah, so you would, that's one thing we need that we teach at the SEC when we do sex traffic training is those things. And you should have seen when I first learned that a couple of years ago, I was staring at every kid I see. I was looking at their back, chest, neck. They don't know what I was doing, but they were looking. Because I was looking at every kid. I mean, because it starts from age 9 to 24. So I wanted to, see if they had anything on them. We was gonna have a talk at that point because, and I still do. When I see little kids, I'm take the little quick look around to make sure that I don't see anything. But if I do know what to say. So I need you two at the training too.
Yes, ma'am. Because I'm gonna be looking now.
Because once again, we're allowing it to happen because we don't know what we're looking at. Yes, and once you're trained, you realize I saw something. In your mind, you go back, I saw something, but I didn't say nothing. Well, because you didn't know.
Right.
Okay, so now let's get into the topic of our school. What kind of school are you going to have?
Yes, ma'am.
And where will it be?
It's going to be in Killeen, Texas. It's going to be a private school that has to do with educating students between the ages or in the grades 5th through 8th grade.
Okay. Why the 5th through 8th? 5th
through 8th grade. We picked that grade mainly because that's the area that I concentrate in right now, is 5th through 8th grade. And then a lot of the times I've been doing research, they're saying that students, this is a very important time in students' lives and building characteristics that they're able to be adults. And so we want to take the students, bring them into our school. And eventually we also want to add years after that, 9th, 10th, 11th grade. Because at that point in time, we want to start preparing them for college. But 5th through 8th mainly is because we want to get the students from Killeen and start preparing them for being adults and things like that.
And also the 5th grade, the kids are 10 years old one day, 15 the next day. I mean, in the 5th grade.
It happens quick.
Yeah. They don't know whether they want to be a baby today or grown tomorrow. They have no clue in the 5th grade, which is a good grade to start with because I work at elementary school, and like I said, the fifth graders, they whine in the day, and then they groan tomorrow, and then they don't know what to do the next day. You're like, oh my goodness, what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
I think the hormone changes at fifth grade because they're not out of control. They're looking for who they really are.
Yep.
So they're trying every piece and everything. And the educator, you got to be ready for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what's your curriculum going to be like?
Our curriculum, well, I've been working, like I told you, I've been working in San Antonio. I've been working for one of the best ranked, I'm not really here to advertise for them, but one of the nationally ranked schools there in San Antonio. And so I've been researching some of their aspects and seeing what works there. And I've been, I guess, taking notes, looking at their curriculum, looking at their books. And so some of the curriculum is going to be based off of that information. Obviously, even though we're a private school, I do believe that the TEKs are very important. So we will be implementing that as well, because we do want students to be prepared for if they do transition back to another high school or another school. We want them to be prepared and not miss a step. In most cases, they'll be ahead of the traditional school system in Killeen or in any surrounding cities. And with that, TEKs also prepare students for college as well. So we want to make sure that the students are prepared for college. So everything will be aligned with TEKs. And then we have some other aspects that we're going to throw into our curriculum. That has to do with we've been looking at some curriculums that like I was talking to you about the Ron Clark Academy. We like a lot of the stuff that they're doing. I'm not really here to advertise for them either, but they do a lot of things well, and we really just want to take what they do, transform it to to what Killeen needs, and cater it to the students there.
And what about ESSA? Every Student Succeeds Act.
What about it?
Are you gonna will that be part of your curriculum?
Everything that has to do with that's in a traditional school system, because we will be working closely with the traditional school system.
Okay.
We will be having a lot of the aspects that.
Because I went to ESSA training 2 years ago. We went there. We did it twice to complete it, and when the president we had before we have now, ESSA was supposed to be implemented last year. That's his first implementation date. It was supposed to be implemented last school year. Well, our current president and our current Department of Education person, she didn't know much about ESSA because she didn't bother to learn. So now states have a 2-year decision-making time of when they will effectively put it in schools. So I think it's important because it changes the way you grade your kids. It works very well for special needs kids because it allows them to be where they are, and their grades, and where they are,
yes,
and their grades still blend in with the regular kids. It's not like they're way over there and the other kids are way over here. But that's what I needed to know because as a state education chairman in NAACP, we get to know all those things, and then we wonder where they're going to fit into the schools. Okay, you said right now it's going to be 5th grade through 8th grade.
Yes, ma'am.
So how will you prepare that child for going back into the public school system in the 9th grade?
So that's one of the things that we're dealing with. So that's a really good question. So we would like to add, our ideal situation is we're adding 9th grade then 10th grade. So if a student comes in 8th grade, we want to take them to 9th grade, 10th grade, because at our school we think it's important because a lot of students are low socioeconomic status in Killeen, Texas. So what we want to do is we want to get students into classes to where they can leave Monarch education with an associate's degree. So they leave with an associate's degree that takes off a lot of the finances that have to go into college. So back to your original question, ideally we would like to add 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. Okay. But besides that, if a student does transition out of our school, we will be teaching at a level that is higher than the school system. All right. So the main issue will be having to adjust back to, and then also they can be in like pre-AP or AP classes as well. So the transition, we want to make sure it's smooth. Again, we are working with local education agencies to make sure that if a student does decide to transition out, that they are prepared.
So when will the school be? What year do you have planned for the school to open?
Well, we're going to start enrollment this summer, and we will be opening our doors next August. Okay. So the 1920 year.
Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you going to do to let everybody know? And are you going to have like a town hall meeting you know, where everybody can ask the 2,500 questions. You know, because you can't just open the door and say, "Oh yeah, we're here."
Yes,
you know,
yes,
you know, you got to do that little town hall where people, you know, throw paper at you. You know.
Yeah. Well, I would say that, you know, to get out there, of course, we're starting. You know, we have our social media. You know, everybody's not a part of social media. We're reaching out to you, getting on the radio. We're reaching out to newscasters, getting on the news. Things like that. As far as City Hall, of course, we're gonna go down there, talk with everybody, let them ask us all the questions that we need to ask. We're working on, we're actually working with the city with grants, so obviously our name will get out there through that. My partner has been in the community way more than I've been, so she's been talking to all the city councilmen and things like that. Our board's an integral part of that as well, making sure that our name gets out there. And then just, you know, just beating the pavement, going to talk to people, going into these communities, knocking on doors, putting news flyers. And then we're also doing a summer enrichment program. So that's going to be, you know, last summer, the uproar, I don't know if you remember, there was nothing for the youth to do in the city of Killeen. And so we're doing a summer enrichment program this year. We're going to get those flyers out throughout KISD so that'll make sure that some students in KSD know what we're trying to do as well as the parents. So that'll be happening here in the next few months.
Okay. Now, you know, I got 50,000 questions, right?
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You know, when kids go to detention, they're on self-paced learning style. Okay. Which is bad.
You mean like if they get like detention in school, they're...
Yeah, when they go to juvie.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
They're on... They're on, you know, self-paced learning, which is, like I said, it's not good. Right. Because the world today doesn't work that way.
Correct.
So will you be prepared for that child who comes out of juvie, has been doing self-paced for 6 to 9 months, and he's coming to you?
Could I ask you what grade level?
Middle school.
Good question. So a student that's coming out of juvenile detention center, obviously we'd have to... A big, huge part of our curriculum, or our, I guess, a cornerstone of Monarch education, is making sure we're getting involved with the parents. So if we're not going to have parent involvement, then there's no need for you to come to Monarch education, because it's something that we need to have in order to make sure that your student succeeds. The parents are the driving force behind making sure that the student is doing what they need to do to be prepared. And so if a student's coming out of a detention center to Monarch, obviously we'd have to go through a lot of interview processes to make sure that the student's ready to come to our school. You know, we're not, if you were on a self-pace, that's not going to happen at Monarch. You need to make sure that you're ready. And then as well as, if it's necessary, let's say the student, just an example, let's say the student was a 6th grade student. If it's necessary, we can put them in 5th grade, and, you know, though it's 5th grade, the 5th grade level will be a little bit higher than it would be in a traditional school system. Right. So we just want to make sure that the student's prepared going forward, building on each year as far as the curriculum.
Because, you know, a lot of kids come from juvie and they go to regular school and they get smacked in the face with, this is due tomorrow, not when you can't turn it in.
Then they go back to juvie.
Yes. Because after, you know, because they're there, you know, your work is due when you get it done.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and in school is done. It's not when you get it done, it's Friday or Wednesday, you know. So you're pushing a kid who's for 9 months been just chilling, basically.
I agree. And I would say that, I would say with, at Monarch, you know, it's going to be a little bit smaller, significant, not a little bit, significantly smaller. Your personal attention, not only will the student or the parents and the teachers be involved, but the intervention team, along with dean of students and the head of school, which is me, be involved in making sure that student is on the right path. You know, you're not going to be at the point where you feel like you're being suffocated as far as you don't know this information, but you need to make sure that you're ready to get your stuff in on a timely manner. And that comes with having a plan. Right. So just making sure the student's aware of what they need to do, looping the teacher, admin, parents, intervention team into everything to make sure that that student knows where they need to go to be prepared.
Have you thought about you yourself going to juvie to talk to the kids?
I have not. Have I thought about it? No, I have not.
So you might want to go there and just, first of all, get a feel of them. You know, just get a feel of them, just them, and then introduce what you're, let them know what else was out there that they can become a part of. Because I used to go until my busy life began. Boom, but I used to go and I talked to the kids, and I learned more from them than I did about. I learned more from them about juvie than I read about juvie,
yes, ma'am.
if that makes any sense. So through talking to them, I realized some of them what they actually needed. And I also realized that, I'm going to tell you about this one kid. He was going to school every day. Every day. So one day his mom, they lost their house. So they living in a car. But he would go to school every day. It was normal, you know. And at school, the coach would let him take a shower in the bathroom, you know. So that went on for about 90 days. Then the little boy's mom said, well, you know what? I'm going to go for a job interview today. While you're in school, I'm going for a job interview. Oh, when he came back, she wasn't back. Wasn't there, okay? Now, the little boy, this is the elementary school, you know, so their brains aren't finished enough for them to make an adult decision. Okay, so the next day he went to school. She wasn't back yet. He's still in the car. Next day. So this is, you know, after 4 days, he's like, she's not coming back. Okay, he was hungry. So he didn't go to school the next day. He broke into someone's house to take a bath and get some food. He's not now. He ended up in juvie for breaking and entering, which we know is against the law, yes. But to me, there should have been an exception.
Right, I get you.
You know what I mean? When you got to that story, should have been an exception to that.
Right.
Someone should have been there to say, hold on, wait. He's an elementary school kid.
Yes,
he did survival skills. We as adults would have thought about that too. We just smart enough to know don't do it. But for him, it was a bath. And he made him some sandwiches, you know. And so he ended up with 6 months in juvie. To me, that wasn't helping his cause.
Right.
So where in there would you fall in if you knew about this kid? Because you had been to juvie.
So you're saying am I in a situation where I'm going to see this student?
You're going to juvie. You're there already.
Right, yes, ma'am.
But you meet him. And you realize that you can do, that the Monarch School can do more for him than him being there.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah,
what would you do?
So I think that's a really good question. So
he doesn't have a parent anymore, remember?
Did the parent not?
Yeah, she never came back.
Oh.
she never came back.
Oh, okay.